Blessed evening, beautiful human beings of the earth. It's me, Crystal, back with my spiritual nonsense, and have been triggered a lot. So I just thought I would come in and use my voice and speak on something that the hundreds of people that I know, and many, many people that I know, have struggled with and have had issues with in their lives from childhood. And that is the issue of spiritual abuse, and it's time to talk about it. I have spent my whole life, I grew up in a Christian church. I grew up in a Pentecostal church, and for a moment in my life, it was everything to me. And the mission, the movement was everything to me. And being raised in Pentecostal church my whole life from childhood, it's really all I ever knew. And then comes those things that you're taught, that everything else that you can gain knowledge from is dangerous and evil. So I spent a lot of my life being really judgmental and really looking at the actions of others and judging them, because that's what I thought I had to do as a Christian. And I had to look just as good as everybody else. And I had a line, a standard to uphold in their eyes. And then it all crumbled. Everything I believed in and I put my life into crumbled because of the corruption that had eventually infected it. And what happens a lot of times is people start off with good intentions and good hearts, and then all of a sudden that power goes to their head, or their influence that they have in other people's lives. So it gets twisted, and that's what happens in a lot of our relationships. Things get twisted once that influence and that power of that relationship infect it. And that's what happened. And it left a lot of people damaged and hurt in ways that the person that did the harm will never ever know. Nor do I think that they care, because they live under this guise that all is well if you repent. But if you don't make it right, it's not. And if you throw a bowling ball down an alley and crash it into a bunch of pins and just leave it there, never clean it up, then you have something to answer for in your life. Doesn't mean that you get to run away from it. So I just wanted to come here with full transparency with everybody. This is new for me, coming and sharing my experiences and sharing my life. But I'm hoping that you'll be able to share too your experience. What did your spirituality, what did it look like growing up? How did it affect who you are today as a human being? Everything I watched crumbled. And I became a shell of the person that I was. I was using substances excessively. I was angry and depressed. I had no hope for life. I am a painter. I stopped painting. I stopped making music. And everything just kind of stopped for me. And I would get up, go to work, take care of my daughter, but I was a shell of a person. And especially the person that I once was. And even when I think back on it, I don't really think I ever knew who I was, because I lived in this shadow of a standard and was never truly free to explore those depths of spirituality, because I was warned against it. So in growing and forgiving, not forgiving the person, but forgiving what has happened for myself, I've expanded my spiritual growth. I have opened my mind and my heart to allow the Creator to reach me just as the Creator is. and to have this true personal relationship. And what I have found is that in these different spiritualities, many of them hundreds of thousands of years old, some of them tens of thousands of years older than Christianity. I have gone back and studied and started to go deeper into my spirituality of who I am, and it's become my own. I don't follow any kind of spirituality. I don't put a label on who I am. I have explored shamanism, which is really internal medicine work and shadow work on those parts of yourself that maybe you forgot. So when we're young, that's when we learn our programming. And shamanism takes you in deeper. So any faith that you carry is positively affected from shamanism. And it has brought me so much healing and connection with the Creator and the spirits that are around us. There's a whole spiritual world, and has just changed me as a person in my process. I get triggered. I get triggered by hypocrisy in Christianity. There's part of me that feels like I have to get them. I have to make them confused about what they're even saying, because I spent 25 years studying the Bible, pretty much my whole life, and so I know a lot. I know a lot about the Bible, and I know a lot about what that looks like and where Christians are coming from. I've spent my whole life listening to it, and the hypocrisy in a lot of the words that are spoken, the actions, the way that they treat other people, that really is something that triggers me. And I've had to learn to battle with my ego and let it go and not even take that on, because it's not my job. And they're doing a pretty good job of exposing themselves all on their own. So I really encourage all of you to face those shadow parts, those things that have deeply wounded you to this place where there's this hurt and anger that's still there, because I still feel it. I still feel it all the time. I think back on the last 20 years of my life, and I'm like, what the hell? What happened? And then just seeing my family that I had made, everybody leave, and seeing the hurt that it caused them. So going back to addressing these things, doing the shadow work, going inside yourself, and really questioning the negative things about yourself. It's okay to acknowledge the things that aren't so great about yourself. And looking back, I still have a long journey ahead of me, but looking back on who I used to be, and the anger, the judgment, the way I spoke to people, the way I conducted myself as a human being, with my head held high, my chest puffed out. And now realizing that it gave no life. It made people uncomfortable. They didn't feel loved. And really, for me, still having problems with conditioning, and in my journey with Native American spirituality, shamanic journeys, wondering, am I doing something wrong? And terrified to take that step, because what are we all taught? And you don't even have to go to church to be influenced by it. That if you don't follow the Bible, that if you don't follow Christianity, that you're gonna go to hell. And that's pretty much the big precedent. That's pretty much what they have to say. And that's the most important thing that they want to point out. And so there's this fear of going deeper, of the unconventional ways that we were all brought up in with tradition, of going into your mind and meditating and really coming to center with the source of creation and what that is for you, and what does it look like for you. And opening your heart to receiving the healing that the earth has to give you. And so for me, I started doing shamanic journeys about a year ago, and got to meet 2 animal spirit guides that I had no idea were a part of my life, or had no idea that that's what they were going to be. I thought I would be something badass, like a wolf or a bear, something fearsome, because I looked at myself as fearsome. And then when the stag and the owl came to me, and going deeper into the medicine of those animals, it just completely changed my life. And still that conditioning and fear. Am I doing something wrong? Am I going to go to hell? And as I've grown, I have really thought of the way that the Creator decides to speak to its people, its creations. And Christianity being a very, very baby religion in the world compared to most of them, very baby religion. And my question is to those people that want to judge how the Creator reached its people. Did God not talk before Christ came, before Christianity was created, and stolen the actions of that man, that beautiful man that laid down his life? Did God not speak to people? Is that your stance? And every culture, the Jewish culture, the Bible is one culture's representation of their God. Are you telling me that the Creator did not speak to any other people? That that's the only way? And are you putting the Creator in a box? Are you putting God in a box? Are you speaking for God? Are you speaking for the Creator of how that being, that source, chooses to connect with its people? And that's my question for anybody that still holds these traditional, very hard-nosed thoughts. And what are you missing out on? Because the institutionalized church raised us and spoke to us to reject any of that it's evil, that it's sin. But there's so much medicine, because some of these spiritual movements and spiritual, cultural, not religions, but faiths in these communities, Native American spirituality, for instance, has an exceptional amount of healing and connection with the earth. And what are you missing out on? And is that the mission? Is that what's supposed to happen? Those dark energies that kind of work in the background, that use the church, that use Christianity, that have used it for centuries to cause harm. Is that the mission? Just like the Catholic Church wrote their Bible in Latin. The common man didn't know Latin, so the common man couldn't find that spirituality for themselves. So lovingly, that's where I'm at. I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to bring it to light and speak my truth about where I'm at with that, because I know that I still see the pain, that the crumbling of the establishment that I was in. I still see the pain today, and I still see how it's affected the people that I know and grew up with as family members, and you all know who you are. We all went through it together. So I think it's time to talk about it. Let's talk. Let's not shove these things down deep inside of ourselves. Let's go to the shadows and bring them to the surface so we can really heal and we can really find this amazing connection with the Creator that we all deserve to have, that Creator wants to have with you. And to each his own. Explore your spirituality. Really listen and really absorb what you can. And find your freedom. Find your freedom with that. And don't let anybody take it from you ever again. You don't have to act how other people say that you should in order to connect with the creator of the universe. And to anybody out there that speaks for God, that decides to make decisions that about how God chooses to talk to people and cultures and different people all over this world, I would seriously suggest that you start looking in the mirror and start looking at yourself and your connection and communication with the Great Spirit, instead of looking at others, because that's what Christianity does. It makes you focus on other people and what they're doing and how they are. It makes you pick a side instead of looking internally at where are you at. How are you treating people? Are you judging people? When you're on the internet, do you just... I used to be that person that just wanted to argue with people, and I thought I was just right. I don't do that anymore. Once in a while something triggers me and I go at it, but I don't have time for that anymore. And I don't have the energy, because people are not wanting a conversation. They're wanting to be right, and they're wanting to take focus on what they're dealing with. So blessings. I hope you all have a good evening, and please, if you feel led to share your experience with religion and Christianity and where you're at in your healing process, I would love to hear it. And some people that I personally know would love for you to share, because we've been on this journey together. We've all had some kind of negative experience with religion that has shaped us and changed our minds. And for some of us, for me, for years, it left me in a bitter, angry, depressed, sad state. And I don't want that for you, because we just think that that's what it is, but we don't have to feel like that. And you can heal, and you can bring it to the surface and deal with those emotions, and you can find your spirituality again and replace that anger with that beautiful light and freedom. Thank you for listening to my spiritual nonsense for the evening. And I hope you all have a blessed evening. Mwah.